Hello and welcome to the Series 12 panel discussion, and today we are talking about Fugitive of the Judoon. And today I have with me Jacob Licklider.
Hello, looms are canon.
Marcus.
Good evening.
And Joey.
Coming soon from Big Finish Productions, The Aunt Jemima Doctor, Volume 1.
Oh no, Joey!
So all three of these excellent people have good channels for you to check out below. Not as good as mine, but still good. So maybe worth your time if there's not enough Lord Slaughter for your life. You can watch them as a somewhat slightly inferior substitute. And yeah,
and I'm the best one here because Marcus and Jacob haven't had you on their channel, so at least I have more Lord Slug to supply to them.
Actually, Streams of Doom.
Lord
Slug.
When's the next Streams of Doom?
I've said it, never.
Oh, come on. Bring back Streams of Doom when you get like 420 subscribers.
You know what? I might just do that. I might. 420 subscribers will bring back Streams of Doom.
Yes.
Get Harry on again.
Get Harry on.
Alright, okay, so
today we'll get Kieran on.
We're talking about Fugitive of the Judoon, which is definitely the episode that's got people talking the most by far since, well, bloody long time. So we're going to start off just by talking about the Doctor in this episode. So do you want to start, Jacob?
Which Doctor is he talking about?
I think I'm talking about Jodie.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so the one that's less like the Doctor.
Actually, no.
Okay. You know, I'm gonna disagree with that. Actually,
yeah.
Well, we'll get on to that later.
Dylan, I am going to be the Jodie stan here. Forget I called myself that.
Okay, yeah, you're disregarded already. Okay, yeah, Jodie was really good in this episode.
Right, do you want to start, Joey?
No, I did think she was really good though.
Yeah.
Seriously, she hasn't given a bad performance this series. Spyfall Part 1 I'm still a bit iffy on, but other than that, I've really enjoyed her this series. I think here, even if I don't particularly like the situation she was thrown into, she still played it well, and definitely in a very doctorish way. It troubles her, it shakes her to the core, and I think she played that brilliantly. I think Jodie has. I wouldn't doubt it. By the end of the series, Jodie has skyrocketed in my Doctor ranks because
she's already climbing my ranks, honestly, just from this series alone.
As of right now, she's already beaten John Hurt when John Hurt was originally above her for me. So she's already made her way up one, and I wouldn't be surprised if that changed a couple of spots before the end of the series or by the end of the series. She has taken the Doctor to such an extreme, or at least an extreme compared to what she was doing before, and I'm very open to it. I'm very welcoming of the mental strain that's being put on the Doctor throughout this series, specifically in this episode. She's very troubled by this, but also I'm really appreciating her rapport with her companions because they are here to be pretty much her only source of sanity. I mean, where would she have to turn to if not Ryan, Yaz, and Graham by the end of the episode? She would be off the fucking rails by the end if they were not involved. And I really appreciate that. And I think, I think I see a lot of potential for the rest of the series for her.
Jodie's Doctor's definitely improved, and I have enjoyed her enough since after Spyfall. But I still feel that in terms of personality, it's still lacking. She still doesn't have that distinct personality. Yeah, she's going through a few more things, which is good. It's a step in the right direction. But we're now 1.5 series in. We should really be, know her as a distinct Doctor, whereas I still don't really have that in my mind. Is this just me, or...?
I think she's more distinctive now because the Doctor's being faced with such challenges. It's really showing the grace under pressure within this Doctor, and I think that's a feature that we don't see in a lot of Doctors. I think any other Doctor, given the situation, they would fly off the handles, and I think through Jodie's acting, you see that it is a strain on her, but she's still able to keep it in, and you see that grace under pressure, and I appreciate that.
I'm not convinced yet, but they're going in the right direction at least, so I can appreciate that.
Fair enough.
Whose fucking phone's going off?
I think that's Mark.
That was me.
Marcus.
Oh God, answer the phone.
Yeah, it was an update, so.
Fair enough.
So, do you have anything to say on Jodie Wakes' Dr. Marcus? You haven't spoke yet.
Well, no, yeah, just because mainly I've liked Jodie since Series 11, and I think part of why you feel your distance is because her characterization has changed almost completely, like in series 11 she was just the fun-loving, adventuring optimist, and then series 12, bam, her home is destroyed and she's unable to cope with that. You can see throughout these last few episodes that she's slowly cracking, almost to the point that when she does start interacting with the Judoon, it's almost like she's trying to distract herself.
You know what? I can actually see that.
I agree that actually it's almost like seeing a returning alien, something a bit more lightweight like the Judoon. She's like, okay, well, let's get back into this. Come on, let's get back into that Doctor energy. Tell them off, show them what's what. And actually, yeah, I kind of see that now.
Yeah.
That's kind of been a theme this entire series since the end of Spyfall Part 2. Like, let's look at it. Orphan 55. We're going on vacation.
Very much. It's
Nikola
very
Tesla.
much.
Oh my God, I get to meet Nikola Tesla.
And read a Wikipedia article about him on the screen.
It's very much it's Showtime approach to it, I don't know if anyone here's seen all that jazz, but it's very much like just put on a smile no matter what and try to push through that. And
like with Whittaker, this episode actually sort of compared her to the arc Paul McGann goes on. She just wants to have fun. She wants to adventure. She wants to be what she used to be, but the universe has decided, nope, you're my punching bag.
It's just, the universe is so otherwise.
It's doing
and
the Davison arc right. It's essentially doing the Davison arc right.
And honestly, because it's happening a lot faster, I buy this arc more than Paul McGann's. I don't know. With Paul McGann, it's one inciting event. Like this, at least with this, it's just horrible event after horrible event. Like, she wants to push past Gallifrey being destroyed, and just 3 episodes later, we're faced with this revelation with Joe Martin. I mean, I think it's a lot for her to go through. She just wants a break, and she is not getting one.
Yeah, anything else to say on Jodie's Doctor before we move on?
I did notice something. It's a very small touch, but when she started using it, she didn't do that exaggerated flourish with the Sonic she normally does.
Which is shit, so I'm glad that she didn't do that. I mean, just need to burn the Sonic again. It's been grossly overused.
Write a sequel to The Visitation.
Bring back the Pterodactyl.
That was the best thing John Nathan Turner did to the show, getting rid of that piece of shit. Go on.
Second best. What
was the best?
Sylvester McCoy.
Okay, I'll agree with that.
Right, so now we're going to move on to the companions. Would you like to start, Marcus?
Okay, yeah. Normally, because I've noticed, actually, none of the companions this series have had a lot to do. Some of them have a moment, but they really have been shafted most of this series. Although in this episode, it didn't bother me because, even though I think the execution of how it was done was very sloppy, this is obviously meant to be a very Doctor-centric episode, so it kind of makes sense that they're pulled out of the plot.
I would have almost liked it if you wanted to do a Doctor-centric plot. Like, there's this I read the 12th Doctor series of books, the Glamour Chronicles, and for the second book, Clara's just not in it. She's just off doing her own thing, and the Doctor has his own adventure with a separate character, and it's a big story for him. So, I don't know. I would have liked if they just didn't have them in an episode. I mean, I know it's TV Who, and it's kind of hard to work around that, but I don't know. I kind of would have liked that if they just didn't have them in an episode.
I think that having them do what they do is perhaps the best compromise for wanting to do a companion.
Because if they don't have any role in the main plot, at least have them there to set up future plots. I guess I get that logic.
But the thing is, you say it's okay because it's a Doctor-centric episode, but they've been third wheeling this entire series. As soon as they can, they shove them in a room and say, right, we're moving away from the companions now. We're not discussing them.
They definitely need to they need to not do a three companion TARDIS team.
I'll agree with that, Dylan, but they're sacrificing the companions for a significantly improved Doctor, and I'm kind of okay with that because Series 11 was very companion-centric, and we did get to love Graham and Ryan through that. So,
but I'm kind of going off Graham and Ryan now because they just get nothing to do. I'm not interested in them.
I don't know. I think part
of your problem is you want them to have an arc when their arc is already been told.
I don't necessarily need them to have an arc, but it's just actually get them to properly interact with the plot.
Well, at least they had.
And I understand that you can't do that in the time you have, but just don't have the extremely limited time.
They finally had Yaz remembering the fact that she's a police officer.
And she still has no personality.
Yeah. Yep. Again, just bringing up the fact that she can accomplish things doesn't actually give her a personality, but whatever. I think. I don't know. I think the fact that it was acknowledged is.
I enjoyed Yaz's sort of confrontation with the Judoon.
I think the 2 times that they mentioned that Yaz is a police officer were definitely part of Chris Chibnall's co-writer's credit on this. Because every single chance Chibnall gets, he wants to address a complaint with Series 11, and I get that. I really do. But if all you're doing is box-ticking the complaints of Series 11, you're not really making room for a new story. You're just trying to fix mistakes you've made in the past.
Yeah, I mean, there's a difference between, a character doing something and a personality is the problem.
Yeah, definitely. And he and Chibnall seems to think that giving Yaz things to do constitutes a personality. I know I mentioned this in the last panel discussion I was on, but yeah, I think that's very much a mistake he's making throughout this series.
I mean, it's just a thing with the 45-minute syndrome problem. It's just made so much worse by the 3 companions. It means you have to sacrifice even more to fit the story in the space of time you have. And last series, it was often the plot and the Doctor that was getting the shaft. Now it's the companions that are getting the shaft, and the stories are still getting the shaft, and the Doctor that's kind of having the focus. It's just like, why can't we have our cake and eat it too?
Although I will say I did like Graham in this still. I think he's still offering the most as a companion, like he did in the last episode. Specifically, when he met with Jack, and he did have that one-on-one scene there before Yaz and Ryan were brought on Jack's ship. So I thought Graham was still good. Just Yaz and Ryan did nothing in this.
Anyway, we're gonna move on now for time reasons. So rather than going through the plot, side characters, etc., I thought I'd structure this slightly differently, since the episode kind of lost focus of its plot and just went into all sorts of crazy areas throughout the episode. So we're just going to talk about the 3 main kind of bits that were, the focus of the episode, rather than talk about the plot as a whole. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the Judoon. So would you like to start, Jacob? Because I know that I kind of shafted you and let Joey start.
Yeah.
Jacob shafted himself that time.
Well, yeah, he did.
I shafted myself. I'm going to say the Judoon, I think, worked as a nice enticement to get people who may, especially fans of the Russell era, a genuinely familiar face, to watch this episode. And it could have, they could have done, I think they could have done a bit more with them, but they serve their purpose.
I will say, I love the way they look in this. I love the animatronics.
The effects
I think they've
great.
been greatly improved. And also, I do kind of love that. I think this is very much a Vinay Patel thing. I do really appreciate that they kind of recognize how stupid the Judoon are by having them be more comedic characters. Yeah. I love the moment when what was that Time Lord's name, when she killed Lee? What was her name? Gat. That was it. When she kills the guy, and the Judoon's like, and she turns out, she's like, "Do I need to spell it out for you?" And the Judoon shakes its head. I'm like, that's funny. I thought that was a good moment. I've never heard a Judoon gasp no.
There's good humor, and it's good. It's sort of it's a nice bit of using continuity. Okay, you're having a story centered around a fugitive. You bring back the Judoon, who are mercenaries for hire, to do this sort of thing. As established.
What I would say is that it almost feels like it's straying into Moffat territory, where it's bringing back an old monster for the sake of bringing back an old monster. Because there's nothing really specific. They don't really do anything that's very specific to the Judoon. They could easily be replaced by something else. And it just feels like they're just getting the eyeballs there.
It helps that they used an established piece of continuity rather than introduce a new space police force hunting down a fugitive. I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
But also I will say, if it's something say what you will about it. I don't like the Judoon either, but they're an iconic piece of Russell's Who, and it's going to get a lot of people in. And if you're going to do a significant episode of this, if you're going to bring Jack back, if you're going to introduce the Ruth Doctor, have all eyes on it. Name it after the Judoon, even though they're a smaller part of the episode.
But that's my point, though. It's not done for reasons of this is going to make the story better. It's done for reasons of this is going to nostalgia bait people into watching it.
I agree with that, but at the same time, I do think the Judoon were used wisely in the story.
It's not a massive complaint, but it's just I don't know. I mean, I thought we'd moved away from the Moffat era where they would just bring back monsters for the sake of nostalgia baiting people. I
Here's the
quite
thing,
like that departure.
I think if it was just for nostalgia bait and this episode was just being nostalgia bait, I'd be with you. But because the episode is trying to set up something a bit different and going into this crazy direction, which I'm sure we'll discuss, I think using that, it's to get people invested immediately. It helps. You don't need to spend time to explain who the Judoon are. Like,
Yeah.
they're recognizable.
Oh.
They're known.
Also, I'm sure you're gonna bring up music at some point, Dylan. I really did like the Judoon theme that Sega Nakanola came up with. I liked the music that accompanied them whenever they were walking around doing their Judoon thing.
I haven't
the
got
music
music
of
as
the
a
series has
section
been-
because I think it's just assumed that every episode Sega Nakanola's tracks are great because they always are. I haven't had a
fair.
complaint so far. Like
She's
every
my
time we bring up,
Akinola
it's
knows how to
praised.
score a scene. The
He
man
does.
knows
Oh
how-
yeah.
and in a style that is nowhere near as late Murray Gold pull at your heartstrings. You need to feel this. He just lets the
Be
music.
sad, cry. It's a play. Why are you not crying?
Because my point is why, because a lot of people are comparing this episode to Let's Kill Hitler, which is very much the Moffat Beatty calling an episode something to get people to watch and do nothing and just doing stuff to set up. I disagree. Well, it does do a lot of setup. Unlike Let's Kill Hitler. Let's Kill Hitler is a story where.
So we're going to get onto that. We're going to get onto the later on.
All I'll say in regards to that, Jacob, is that like I agree with the sentiment that the setup is similar to Let's Kill Hitler, but it's done a lot more strategically than Let's Kill Hitler.
It's done a lot better, and the problem is it's nowhere near as much of a bait and switch. Let's Kill Hitler's biggest problem is that it is a bait and switch. You can take the World War II stuff out of Let's Kill Hitler, lose nothing.
Yeah, and Fugitive of the Judoon at the end still does have the Judoon in the climax. They're still a part of the plot. Yeah,
they're still part of the plot. We're still focusing on the episode is the focus. The episode title is the focus. We are focusing on this fugitive of the Judoon, who is obviously this.
You know what's kind of funny actually. Before I watched the episode, me and my brother were saying that like, oh, what if they're following on from the Stolen Earth when the Doctor runs away from the Shadow Proclamation and the Doctor is the fugitive. Well, it wasn't entirely wrong, just not in the way that I thought it would be. So yeah.
Anyway, so we're going to move on and talk about Captain Jack, which I think we can probably agree was the weakest part of the episode, despite it being nice to see John Barrowman back. Would you like to start, Joey?
I'm not going to say he's the weakest part of the episode. I think it's the loosest gear. It's the loosest cog in the machine.
It is absolutely the definition of nostalgia bait, though. There is no reason for him to be there. And the fact that Chris Chibnall has later said he isn't coming back in the series.
I think that's bullshit.
Let's be real. I'm sure either Chibnall's lying or he chose his words carefully and Jack's coming back in the special. This is a big thing that I'm going to end up saying by the end of this episode, that like I can't give this episode a rating. I don't know how I feel about this episode because I don't know where the thing with Jack is going. I don't know where the Ruth Doctor thing is going. So I don't feel like I know how to feel about this episode yet. I'm not going to give it a rating by the end because
This is part one of a larger story.
Yeah, it's not so much its own plot. I said like after I was done watching it, it's not so much an episode as much as it is just like, here's where we're going. It's all set up for the rest of the series, and I don't see a reason to actually treat it as its own individual story, because it didn't offer much as an individual story. It was just all, here's stuff that we're going to do later.
Problem. It's all mystery box stuff. It's like, why can't we just tell that story as one rather than just like,
I'll say I enjoy this.
Keep watching, you know.
Well, I'll say I enjoy this episode in the future if they have good payoffs. If they don't, this episode's god awful. But for now, I enjoyed it, and for now, I'm intrigued by what's going to come.
Even if the payoff's good, though. It's like, why do we need to have an entire episode which is just like, ooh, here's all of the mystery boxes of this series?
But would you prefer if in an episode like Orphan 55, at some point in that episode, Jack just took Graham, Ryan, and Diaz away and set up the Lynn Cyberman thing just to set it up for later on in the series, but still like not have it detract from the episode? You know, it would just still be its own thing in the middle of the episode. But I think it would really take away from watching like Orphan 55 if that just happened.
Neither.
Okay, but I think this is the better way of doing it. If focusing an episode on setting things up for later, rather than
What's
just
a false dichotomy, Joe?
rather than shoehorning it into an episode that
Joey,
has
here-
nothing to
if
do
I-
with the series arc shit.
That's a false dichotomy.
Okay,
It's like, it
Joey,
doesn't have to be one
shut
of
it.
them.
Both of you, shut up. I have something to say. It's very much American TV. It's very much, here's the middle of the season episode that is very ingrained into the way television works here in the U.S. Is that you have an episode somewhere in the middle that's essentially devoted to just furthering that season plot arc. It's doing an act. It
didn't really further the arc. More as just like, here's coming soon on Doctor Who. Here's our 45-minute trailer for the rest of the series.
I'd argue that it did. It added some more elements to the whole Gallifrey being destroyed. That there's a version of the Doctor out there played by this new character who is potentially from a past Gallifrey that doesn't know about Gallifrey being destroyed. It builds intrigue. Yes, it's keep watching, but for an arc you have to build intrigue till you get to the climax.
I will say also if we're saying it's nothing but set up for the future, I think we developed the Doctor, Ryan, Yaz, and Graham as a team in this episode. At the beginning, Ryan, Yaz, and Graham are really going at the Doctor for not sharing anything with her. And the Doctor kind of turns around and says, like, I can't trust you guys. Like, why would I tell you guys? You don't know me in the way that you think you do. Shut up. Stop fucking bothering me. This is my own thing to deal with. And by the end, the Doctor is assured by them in the end and says, like, we're here for you. We don't care, like, who you were in the past, who you're going to be in the future.
This is almost the whole episode. So how does that work as, like, development?
Because they both went on their own individual journey.
I'd argue it isn't separated. Yes, it's the last scene and it's in the TARDIS, so you're not in the same, and the story is basically over. But what it does is it works as an epilogue to the episode.
Yeah,
that's
and
what
I think it does a lot for the Doctor, because I don't think the Doctor entirely trusts her company right now, or at least she didn't before this episode, and now she does.
But I don't see what catalyzed that change.
I think the Doctor going through so much and finally wanting to open up to them by the end. It's not about the companions in this episode. Like we said, it is a Doctor-centric episode, and the companion Jack plot is an issue. It is just shoehorned in there. But for the Doctor, I think her relationship with the companions has been changed, and it has done a lot for the Doctor and her character.
Part of it's definitely exploring the grief of losing Gallifrey again. Part of it's also definitely having her entire world shattered. Like, there's a version of me that I didn't know existed. This is wrong. What the hell's going on?
Well, should we move on to the Roof Doctor now?
Oh, wait, hang on. Well, before we do that, before we do that, we didn't even talk about John Barrowman. I just want to say John Barrowman is just always an absolute joy to watch.
He was so much fun.
He's so great.
Every time he was on screen, just the biggest smile on my face.
Oh yeah, and also, like, I just love Jack thinking Graham was the Doctor at the beginning, and him, like, getting really excited at finding out that the Doctor is a woman now.
It's the second time we've had that joke, though. It's getting a bit stale.
I don't know. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I would have maybe cut it in Spyfall to have it here with a character that we actually knew.
Yeah.
That one.
But also keep in mind it works here. Like with Stephen Fry's character in Spyfall, it was just like him being a dumbass. Here, Jack legitimately thinks he's pulled the Doctor onto his ship.
Yeah, so, well, I mean, I would agree with Jacob that this joke would be fine if it had been done in Spyfall, whereas I think it's severely detracted from because it was already done in Spyfall.
I don't think it's severely distracted from. I think it's still enjoyable because, that's within Jack's character.
Well, all I could think, and I know a lot of others, all they could think when they saw it was like, well, we've done this before.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, so yeah, we'll move on to the Roof Doctor now. Since you were just talking about it, Jacob, do you want to just continue on that?
Jo Martin is amazing, just as an actress. I'm in this episode. I haven't seen her in anything else, but she was able to. I didn't know, because obviously being in America, I watched the episodes after you guys in the UK. I didn't know that this twist was coming. I knew Jack was coming back because that was everywhere and that was unavoidable.
Yeah.
But this one, I didn't know. And not knowing, immediately, as soon as, I was, because I was watching it live, and as soon as they went to the lighthouse, I'm like, are they doing what I think they're doing? And then by the time we got to the community, I'm like, oh, they're doing this. and there's this immediate shift in Martin's portrayal of just the character that that's night and day. Just like she is playing two separate characters.
Mm-hmm. I did really.
This is the best episode on television to do a chameleon arch. Except
I'm gonna disagree with that. I think.
Come on, Terminator Family of Blood was good. Utopia was good, even if the rest.
I forgot about Utopia.
Yeah, come on, Utopia.
Part of Human Nature and Family of Blood is that Tennant's just playing the Doctor through it all.
So I will say I did enjoy. I just liked Ruth's character up until she was revealed as the Doctor. I could have stuck with that character the whole time, but I think Joe Martin was great as the Doctor. I don't think it's a Doctor I'd watch an entire tenure of. I don't think I could really get into the way she was characterized here 24/7, but
and it very could easily just be she's waking up, she's as the character, and she's trying to make sure she's safe.
Like I don't know, if she wasn't the Doctor, if it wasn't the Doctor, I'd really love the moment where she ripped off the Judoon's horn and she screamed at them like in Judoonese or whatever the fuck you call it, and points the gun at them. Like, I would have really enjoyed that moment, but knowing it's the Doctor, I don't know.
I had a very different and opposite reaction to you. I absolutely love Joe Martin as the Doctor. It's like, oh my god, finally, a Doctor with a bit of bite for the first time since Series 8.
I also love her costume. I love her.
Yes, it's actually a nice costume.
Amazing.
I do really like the costume.
With the exact criticisms that I have.
But I will say, like, other than the Judoon scene, that where she fights off the Judoon, I did like Joe Martin beyond that point. I will say my biggest concern here, though, if it is pre-Hartnell, I'm not so much concerned about the whole like breaking continuity. I don't give a shit about breaking continuity. I'm concerned about Hartnell's amazing character arc and how that's going to be completely taken away from him.
Yeah, that's been my main
if this
point.
is really the case.
That's my point. So unless
I don't care. I don't give a fuck about continuity. Break continuity all you fucking want. Do whatever. I want showrunners to break the mold. Fine. Don't ruin the amazing character arc of the first Doctor. I adore that.
The answer.
So just let me just go on a little screed for a moment, just to say, to the audience why Joey's right about this. It's the fact that Hartnell, when he goes through this character arc, he's not the Doctor we know beforehand. Just through his experiences and being exposed to humans, it's how he slowly, comes out of his shell, becomes less aggressive, becomes more willing to help and less likely to just stand by and try and get away. That's how he becomes the Doctor. So if we had this Doctor before Hartnell, it's like that, all of a sudden that is just null and void. That really good bit of acting and writing, and it's really unfair to all of the hard work that went into that just to completely undermine it. Obviously, that might not be the case, but Chris Chibnall said that she's not a parallel universe Doctor. So she's definitely the Doctor.
Now, like we just said, like Christian could be lying about that, and he could be really choosing his words really wisely. Time could be changed, whatever. But there was that one line that I really hated towards the end, where Joe Martin's holding the gun, and Jodie says to Joe Martin, she's like, "The Doctor doesn't use guns," and Joe Martin says, "I know." If it's pre-Hartnell, no, you fucking don't.
And also, the Doctor doesn't use guns. Bollocks.
And
yeah.
As of right now, while I did like it, I'm much more mixed on Joe Martin's Doctor, because just like I said, she feels very unsure. As far as her character goes, it feels like she only got this script and nothing else. It feels like she doesn't know where the character is going.
I can agree with that. While at the same time enjoying the different Doctor. Like, I would adore this Doctor in a Big Finish Unbound story. I really would.
I already prefer Jodie, not gonna lie.
I'd agree with that, but given a full tenure, I wouldn't want more scenes like ripping off a Judoon's horn.
I mean, that scene, neither here nor there. The scene that really made me like, wow, I actually like this Doctor. It was the bit where she's confronting them, like the Time Lord and all of the Judoon in the ship.
And the gun backfires. I love that.
I'm really
love that bit.
That's it's a Doctor finally with a bit of balls. It's like, I've had enough of this, Nam-handed, Matt Smith-like Capaldi, Ben Jodie Whittaker, who's like, ooh, fam, ooh, I'm in somebody's liver, how embarrassing. It's like, fuck off.
I mean, I can agree with that for the most part. I don't know. I think it may be a bit much. And of course, putting aside all the continuity breaks, with the police box being a TARDIS and Or sorry, the TARDIS being a police box, other way around, and her being off Gallifrey pre-Hartnell. You know, even putting that aside, like I'm not okay with what it does to Hartnell's character arc if it's pre-Hartnell.
I mean, I would be extremely angry if it is pre-Hartnell, because that's just really not on, to be perfectly honest.
If she is, I don't think it particularly affects his arc, because she's still about as cold as Hartnell was before he started warming, you know? Like,
but she does strike you more as like a kind of swashbuckling adventurer, which Hartnell really wasn't.
But there's also those moments like, you know, their final scene together. You can get off my ship now. You know, I still think she has
like Hartnell's doctor would shoot Jodie out into the time vortex. Like, Hartnell's doctor at that point, pre-Unearthly Child, would not give a shit.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't know.
It's like don't touch that other people's work on character development, which they put a lot of work into. I just don't think that's right, really.
Now, explanations I will be okay with. Timelines. Now, I know Christian will said, like, no parallel universes. It's not that situation. It could still be an alternate timeline from, like, our narrative universe. I think that can make sense.
Yeah.
Or it could be a future Doctor that got her mind wiped. I'd be okay with that. Just don't throw it before Hartnell. As long as that's not actually the case.
If I'm going to be honest, looking at Chibnall's track record of just of a lot of things. Especially if you go back to like that famous interview with him as a young guy during the Sixth Doctor's era, I don't think he's going to do a pre-Hartnell.
I gotta say, it's really ironic that people kept using the routine Doctor Who quote to criticize Series 11, and now we have this and people are still bitching about it. I'm like, at least it's different. I'll give it that. It's fucking different.
Here's the thing. It's, you know, we talked about this last night. Doctor, they always have a reason to complain.
Yeah. Not my Doctor's ridiculous, but also I will say also in that same Chris Chibnall quote, he did say, I'm very aware of the continuity of the show, like very aware of like the implications this would have. So I do feel like he does care. Like I feel like he wouldn't
He's not
just
Moffat.
Yeah,
he's not Moffat, who's like, I just want to do.
Wouldn't it be so clever if Clara was responsible for everything the Doctor's ever done?
Well, Moffat's basically
that's the worst one.
All the expectations. I'm going to subvert all the expectations for a story. Whereas Chibnall's
that's
more...
the worst continuity break in Who, is that Clara thing. Like, even everything else Moffat did, I don't give a shit about that, but like, it's throwing Clara throughout the Doctor's entire timeline that is the worst thing Moffat ever did.
Anyway, anything else to say before we move on to final thoughts?
Oh, did we talk about supporting characters at all? Because I quite liked Lee and Time Lady person that I can't think of her name again.
Her name was Gat?
Gat.
She's probably...
Also, old lady from Orphan 55 has returned. She's the one that the Judoon killed at the beginning.
That was Betty when we saw...
Wait. Oh, was that the same actress?
That's the same actress.
You're kidding.
No, I'll tell you what I saw the other day. So I was watching Blake 7, and Lily was there. So you know how Lily is like an encyclopedia of British actors?
Yes.
She noticed that fucking Benny was in Blake 7. It was actually him. Yeah, the actor.
Oh my god,
Benny
seriously?
is in Blake 7.
How would you even know that? Oh my god, that's awesome. That's so great.
And then he dies of like a space virus, so it's all good.
Apparently the guy that played Lee also has been on Twitter like saying that his character didn't die and that he's coming back. I'm like, okay. Whatever you say.
I bet Chris Chibnall's gonna like break his ribs for that because he hates leaks.
Yeah. Well, see, that's what's also throwing me off, because that article that Chris Chibnall quote comes from is written by the same person that leaked the whole what was it? Not Cyberman returning. Who returned?
Johnson.
No. Someone that Chris Chibnall.
The Mirror.
Well, yeah, but also like no, it was written by the same person. It was a Series 12 leak. I can't remember. Was it the Sacha Dhawan Master maybe? Because I know there was a rumor about that beforehand.
Dunno.
Because I feel like Chris Chibnall would not want to do an interview with this person, because I know she did like some kind of leak before.
Oh, what? Maybe he's just told her a bunch of lies just to, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't doubt that. He's like, hey, this is the same cunt that ruined the entire series.
If that's true, that's what he's done. I have grown a massive amount of respect for Chibnall.
Well,
Because I gotta say, like, I already have
Chibnall
respect for Chibnall.
he wants the twists to be twists. He clearly
Exactly.
does.
That
And
is something that's
thus
very
far he's
positive
been
about the
good
Chibnall
at it.
era. Anyway, we're
Yeah,
going to move on to
and,
final thoughts now. So would you like to start, Marcus?
Just really the only thing we really haven't talked about. I really liked the pacing of this episode. You know, very fast, very high octane, but it's not like Orphan 55 where that felt rushed. The fast pacing of this feels really natural.
I will.
Because not much really happened.
Yeah,
other than
yeah. Because I
mystery
will
boxes.
say, like, the fast pacing works because there's not really a plot to have to be fast paced. It's just like giving us bits of information, and when the run time's up, that information ends.
That is the perfect description.
it just kind of like kept going. It's like, here's the Judoon. Here's what you need to know. Lone Cyberman's coming. Here's Jack. Here's the new Doctor. They're gonna reveal that in the future. Okay, now we're going off to the next adventure. Runtime's over. See you next time.
Because this is clearly just a part one.
It's not even a part one, it's a part epilogue.
It's a part one for the rest of the Chibnall. It's a part one for the rest of the Chibnall era.
It's a part
and
prologue.
that's
It's
sort
not
of
even a part one.
And that's sort of it too, because I do have a rating for this one, but I'm not really comfortable for it because this episode ends leading right into Praxeus, so this obviously feels like a multi-part story.
Mm-hmm. So what's your rating?
Well, you don't have to give ratings, by the way, because I've stopped giving them.
Okay.
Yeah, I refuse to give this a rating just because it could be. It's a lot of it's going to depend on how the rest of the story arc turns out. If the story arc turns out great, then this doesn't get like a high rating. If it turns out crap, well, lower rating.
Yeah.
I enjoyed watching it. It was fun to see things happen, but but there just isn't. We just don't know. The story's not over yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is that both of your final thoughts then, or do you have anything else to say before we ask Joey?
That's all I've got.
Alright, go on, Joey.
All right, so I'm absolutely in love with Jodie's Doctor at this point in the series. I think the only way to go is up as long as Chibnall keeps it like where we're at so far, and seeing as it's looking like Chibnall's going to co-write the rest of the episodes of this series. We only don't have confirmation on episode 8, but I'm pretty sure he'll co-write that as well. I think the characterization's still going to be spot on. Companions have a ways to go, but I am still consistently enjoying Graham at least. Judoon were a nice functioning part of the plot, and also their costumes and designs have improved greatly since Smith and Jones. Despite my minor complaints with Ruth's Doctor, I still enjoyed her. I think Jo Martin's a fantastic actress. Just seeing her in this, I haven't seen her in anything else. I think there's a lot of potential there. John Barrowman, great to see as always, even though Jack didn't serve much of a purpose in the plot. It's a joy to see John Barrowman back. He's wonderful. And what else? Leading to the next episode is nice. I really like what this episode did for the Doctor and her relationship with her TARDIS team currently. And I want to give this a rating. I really do, because I've given every episode a rating up to this point so far for Series 12. But I really can't. I have no clue what to say on this one. I won't know what I truly think about it until we get the payoff. So for now, Fugitive of the Judoon gets a very confident question mark out of 10 from me.
All right, so I seem to be the only person who really wasn't a fan of this episode. So what I can say about it is there are some positives. Jodie's Doctor's getting better, and I really like Jo Martin as the Doctor. However, I just didn't like this episode, and part of it is it felt almost like a return to the Moffat style of episode, where it was not really any plot to speak of. It was just all mystery boxes and teasers of things that were going to happen later in the series, rather than just telling a story now, which to me is a very poor way of storytelling. And a lot of it was also nostalgia bait, with the Judoon just there at nostalgia bait, and Jack very much just there at nostalgia bait. And if what Criminal says is true and he's not come back in the series, wow, that is very poor use of a returning character. And all of the plot threads it brings up could turn out to be really interesting, and I'll be very happy with that. But I still won't like the story, because I still don't like it when a story's only purpose is to say these things are going to happen later. I just don't think that's good storytelling. Just tell the story. We don't need to have like a 50-minute long prologue to it with like nostalgia bait and teasers and things like that. And especially stuff like, you know, I mean, it was a little more developed at least with, you know, Joe Martin's Doctor and stuff, but like the Lone Sideman, that is literally a Moffat mystery box. It's exactly like the kind of thing Moffat used to do, and I hated it then, and I hate it now. And
It has a very hybrid type name too, Lone Cyberman.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I will give it this though, like, it doesn't do the Let's Kill Hitler thing of having a really interesting premise and then shoving that to the side to give its series arc shit. This is just series arc shit, and there's no more interesting plot to be had.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's as bad as Let's Kill Hitler. I'm just saying it's almost in the vein of that, and I still wasn't a big fan. And I'm hoping that these various plot threads turn out to be very interesting, but I still won't like this episode. I don't like it when they do this type of storytelling. I don't think it's very clever. I don't think it's very well written. It's just like, just tell your story. Why waste 50 minutes of my time by saying these are the things that are going to happen, rather than just have them happen? And you can still have the twists and stuff, but with some actual proper writing substance. So that's my opinion. And I'm honestly quite surprised that I'm almost alone on this. But yeah.
I can mostly agree with your points. I'm interested that I pull more of a positive experience from this than you, as compared to you pulling a negative one. And I get it, like, you're really annoyed by the fact that it's just series arc shit and it doesn't actually offer much, like, as its own individual plot, and I totally get that. But I think
it's like, just do an episode. If you do an episode on the series arc plot, like, make it a much more substantive plot rather than just, these are the things that are coming up. Just do an episode which really gets to the meat.
But I don't feel it was completely wasted. Like, I feel like we did still learn stuff. Like, I feel like it did still advance the series.
And as I said, it's not as bad as an episode like Let's Kill Hitler, but it's still in that same vein. I still don't feel that it's good storytelling.
Interesting enough.
It's very cheap.
But I respectfully
like nostalgia baits and mystery box baits. But,
again, fair enough. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
That's what I think. So anyway, I'd like to thank Jacob, Marcus, and Joey for coming on.
Much love, BB.
Alright, and I'm going to see you next week for an episode name that I can't bother to pronounce. Bye.
Praxeus.
Praxeus.